Hello and welcome to Campaign Comrades, your favorite leftist gaming channel. We are talking today about the backlog, the all-intimidating...
Not the backlogs. Your
just
backlog.
your personal backlog. I have gained backwards access to your system. I'm looking at your Steam library. I see that you have put in 1,000 hours into My Femboy Roommate, but have not played the newest AAA release. Suspect.
Concerning.
It's weird. I'm also seeing a lot of playtime on Furry Hitler.
Wait, I thought that was called Animal Crossing.
It's on Nook. Yeah, he's the real supreme leader here. Folks, I wanted to get a couple of the comrades together to kind of talk a little bit more kind of extemporaneously on what I wrote about for the Patreon this week, which was just like my kind of thoughts about my own self-reasonings of why I choose to play certain games at certain times, the struggles I have in particular with trying to get into long-standing series and how I approach that, and like the inconsistencies and kind of fluidity of my own approach, and like how sometimes I'm a purist and I have to play through every single game in a series. Even if there are 12 and counting Trails games, I've got to start at the first one. But I can't bring myself to play the latest. I can't bring myself to play the original Kingdom Come Deliverance, while I'm really interested in playing Kingdom Come 2, and why that difference exists in my mind. And so it just got me thinking, got other points of view to pull from here.
You brought the two other sickos in here to talk about their sick habits.
Right. Well, no, but that's why it's like we have a diversity in approaches and kind of play styles here, even within our own little community here. So I was just thinking, like, okay, let's get these two to discuss.
I assume Andrew's method is something along the lines of he's got a dartboard set up.
Kinda.
You hold like 12 games up into your window and point across the street to someone on the rooftop across from you.
Which one speaks to you, random stranger? So first, I wanted just to ask, what's everybody playing right now? What's playing, or in some cases, Andrew, what game do you have active at the moment?
Yeah.
Or games, plural, do you have active at the moment?
The roster is pretty full, as they say, on my end. I'm playing Metaphor ReFantazio, which is definitely like the main game at the moment.
Where are you?
I am still. I'm about to wrap up the Gauntlet Runner, like getting the keys mission.
Okay, so you're in Brow.
Yeah. I haven't played because I was on vacation, so I don't remember the name of it.
Nope, I just wanted to keep in mind for discussions in the future.
I appreciate that. Yeah, so Metaphor is the main game, which I'll talk a little bit more about my play style in a minute.
Anticipated.
I really enjoy it. I've just not had much gaming time the last couple of weeks, so progress is slow.
Yeah, it's because PSN is down.
Yeah, you're right. God damn, fucking Sony. They should give us all free PlayStation games forever.
Nope, not just games.
Travesty.
Consoles. Free PS5s for life.
Extra PlayStation, yeah.
And then the rest of the roster, let's see, what else do I have playing at the moment? I always have 3 sports games that I kind of rotate between. That's generally UK, a football game, and then some other miscellaneous one. It floats between FIFA, NHL, a golf game.
It's not called FIFA anymore.
Yeah, you're right. What is it? EA Football Club?
EA Football Club?
E5
yeah, FC.
Rolls off the tongue real easy.
That's for sure. And then there's probably 5 other games I have downloaded onto my console that I have in various states of play, from an hour and 10 minutes, 15 hours. So yeah, and that's kind of, we'll get into that, but that's what's on this console at the moment.
I'm on hour 109 of Metaphor. I should be wrapped up at some point today if the servers come back online. If not, I'll probably adjust my future planning a little bit.
You'll be buying some fertilizer.
No, it would be more of looking at a Switch game, potentially like Mario Wonder or something like that, to throw in and mess around with.
Yeah, that's something that you could just do a few levels here and there and not really care about.
How dare you? How dare you, sir?
I'm talking about the current discussion is, although again, Matt, by popping in Mario Wonder and playing a few levels, would you then have to finish the game? Like, I know at some point you would, but like, would you have to like, would that become your next game automatically that you have to then
Potentially.
finish that before moving on? Whereas that's a perfect game for me that is, or the only type of game for me that I can play with little focus, that I can dip my toe in, come back in, do a level, clear a stage or whatever, and not care about it.
No. When I play games, I play that one game until it's done, put it away, put another game in, play that game until it's done,
Yeah.
put it away, put another game in, play that game till it's done. I'm a singularly focused person.
And you're usually like me too, right? Where you tend to only play one game at a time. That it's very rare to have multiple games going. For me, I don't know if it's a lack of like neuroplasticity or whatever, but it's like the only way I can play two games at the same time is obviously they have to be on different systems because I'm able to kind of sequester those parts of my brain, but also they have to be different mechanically. So like I am technically playing two games right now. I am playing Trails in the Sky on PC. I might finish today or tomorrow. And then I'm playing Citizen Sleeper 2 on Steam Deck. Technically both PC, but the mechanics are so much different that are so field across it doesn't like I can't play two different action games at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm constantly fighting muscle memory of how the combat for each one goes. I can't do it.
No, that's fair. And I'm like, as someone who does usually have a couple games going, I do tend to kind of delineate along those lines and make sure that like if I'm starting something else that's like a narrative outside of having like the sports games that I just kind of ongoingly play when I want something that's just a little bit different from, an action or an RPG type game or a shooter. If I'm playing multiple narrative games at the same time, not sequentially, I do try to do that because I totally agree. Like your fingers get confused, the muscle memory throws you off. You like, oh shit, I just hit dodge and I wanted to heal, but that was the reverse in the other game. Like that shit does get annoying. So I
don't
do
have that
abide.
problem.
I do abide.
I don't have
No?
a problem with mixed controls or control layouts or anything like that. For me, it's purely just if I'm focusing on a story, I need to be focusing on the story. I can't have Xenoblade Chronicles running in one side of my brain and then something like Sekiro running on the other side. Because if at some point I'm going to get sucked into one narratively and I'm not going to want to play the other, and then I'm now a third into a game that I'm going to have to restart when I go back to it, or
Yeah, I do find myself falling into that as well. Like my kind of brain space does get kind of when I get really into a game, it becomes kind of all consuming in terms of the space that I can afford that kind of narrative exploration in my mind. I have to kind of stick with one. And then there is just the practical bit of I can't keep two different combat focused games. If they're combat light,
Yeah.
that's not a problem. But like I can't play two like action RPGs at the same time because I will constantly be fucking up the
Yeah.
other ones.
You don't want to play Souls and God of War simultaneously. I will say for me, like a sign of like a game I'm really enjoying is not playing anything else while I'm playing it. So like Metaphor is a good example where like I've pretty much just been mainlining Metaphor. I've played a couple hours of sports games here and there just to take a break.
Palate cleanser.
Exactly,
Exactly.
exactly.
Those are good for that.
But that's like the only real narrative intense game that I'm playing at the moment. So I do use that as like kind of my own internal barometer for how much I'm enjoying a particular thing. And I will say something else about this that I think is going to make you both think I'm even sicker. And it's that this behavior started long, long ago with how I read books in elementary school. I always had like multiple books going at the same time. And I would finish them as long as I liked them. But I always had multiple books being read at the same time.
I think I'm going to leave.
No, I can't do that. No, I can't do that at all. I have one book active at a time. Like I only have space for that. That is a sickness.
I knew that would
been
give
one
you
of
both.
the ongoing jokes with the PSN being down. It's like, hey guys, maybe you should read a book.
That's taking a lot for granted that they.
Yeah, you think these people are literate?
But Andrew, do you have like undiagnosed ADD? Like, do you need to hop on the Mike amphetamine train?
No.
And
Nope. We're gonna cut that conversation right there. We don't need another
we're not gonna
member.
alter your brain chemistry like someone else.
No, I do not need my brain chemistry altered, because here's the thing, like it's that I eventually like can see where the story's going, or I've become bored with the mechanics and I just want to change it up and try something new. It's a little bit of that like shiny object thing for sure. I'm not going to lie, that's part of it, but it's more just like a lot of games for me are just too long. I reach a certain point even with some of my favorites where honestly like Elden Ring is probably the longest game where I didn't feel this at some point, where it's just like I just want something different now. I've had enough. I can see the narrative arc. I know where it's going to end up, like even if I don't read spoilers, because I don't know, most video games you can see where the story's going once you get to a certain point.
Even the
As with
twists
most
are
things.
fairly predictable.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, man. Any Xenoblade Chronicles twist that pops up.
Is that true? Does Xenoblade have a lot of twists in its narrative arc?
Who's Metal Face? I don't know.
Okay.
No, literally, I called that in the first 2 minutes.
Perfect. Okay. Exactly.
That guy has too much shadowing around his eyes to be a good guy.
Hilarious.
They put way too much design focus into that guy's face to kill him off in the first like 2 minutes.
I mean,
he's
obviously
coming back, and he's definitely a villain.
He's emo. Obviously, he's the villain.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think it's. I don't know. Probably a little bit of ADHD, but like I can function in my life. I think it's mostly just eventually I just get bored a little bit quicker with certain things.
So how do you guys kind of then choose to play, how do you choose to play the next game? Like, it's kind of, you can dovetail off that end to be like, when you decide that you've had enough and that it's okay to either drop something or just add something else to this kind of rotating stable of games. I know for Matt and I, we do finish these experiences. I talk about this in the piece, how like it is so rare for me to drop a game. I played 43 games last year. I only dropped 3. And one of them was like a theoretically endless roguelike that kind of doesn't count. I basically
What were the other two? What were the other two?
The Dragon Age Inquisition, and I think it was, I don't have my list in front of me, and that's something that I'll get to about my strategies, is I have this kind of list project going, but I believe it was the first Devil May Cry.
Okay.
That, like, I may go back to, I probably will just watch this, one of those ones where
there's theoretically a reboot or like a remake of the first one.
There's like a struggle for me to kind of, sometimes technical limitations and the technical qualities of older games really do stop me from seeing it through.
Weakness.
It is, but like for me, it's just like, it's the camera. It's that with having no camera control really just fucks me up. So I just kind of
hope that when they reboot the God of War Greek trilogy, they keep it fixed camera just for all of the weakness.
Well, from every rumor it is just going to be a remaster, not like remakes of any kind. So that may be one of the things that they tweak, is give full camera control, but like that they're not going to be like top to bottom remakes. So I guess I can start it off, because I've already kind of mentioned my strategy, because I do get caught in a bit of analysis paralysis. We all have the kind of somewhat added benefit, or it's a burden, depending on your perspective, of what we do for the podcast, in terms of we have games that we assign ourselves that we have to play at different points throughout the year. So like we have a minimum number of games that, are decided for us, and that takes the choice out of it for the most part. But for everything else, I am one of these people who has maybe a bit of a spending problem, and I get enticed by the latest Steam sale when things are under $10. I'm like, that's not real money.
Yeah, doesn't count.
Love the meme of like the skeleton doing the squats, and it's like, my body is a machine that turns $5.99 Steam games into 0 minutes played. So like I've got like an extensive backlog. I've got an extensive library of games. So one thing I've done to help minimize the analysis paralysis is I have gone through that large list and I condense it into a much smaller version of what am I most interested to play. And I have this strategy of tracking different data points of when I start, when I finish, hours played, and I usually do a little bit of a write-up of the game. And that has helped me stay engaged and feel a sense of accomplishment to get through games. So it helps me avoid burnout in that it lets me kind of see a more reasonable, manageable list. But still, going from hundreds of games to like 60, still tough. I still struggle. I still have trouble picking from time to time. Like when I finish Trails,
You'll send me a list of like 6 games. You're like, I'm thinking of playing these.
like, and I usually I'm just looking for validation for the one that's like the highest. That's like the highest ranked in my mind.
Like pick it.
I usually when I do that, I usually have one in mind. But it's because I've got different reasons to play these different games. Sometimes it's to try to make content out of them. Sometimes it's to personal enjoyment, or I have these kind of, I'm trying to make progress in a certain series or get into a series, hence what I was talking about in the piece on Patreon. But I do struggle to choose every now and again. So I wanted to get kind of your guys' ideas. Because like right now, for me, I'm going to be getting into one of those periods because I'm kind of in a holding pattern until the Pirate Yakuza game comes out in like 10-ish days, in a little bit over a week. So that's enough time for me to play at least one more game. So I'm like, what do I do? Do I make content? Do I record a playthrough of Last of Us Part 2 and try to do a video?
No.
Try to do a video on Neil Druckmann's Zionism.
No.
Do something like that, or do I play Bloodborne, or do I do something else?
Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. So that's why, yeah, I want your guys' opinions. What do you guys think? Well, how do you choose that next game?
So I'll jump in because I think you and I probably are like the polar opposites of this process, in that for me, it's kind of a flow chart. So you start thinking about, what's coming out, what's new. Is there anything that I've been really interested in that just released or is releasing in like a week? If there is, then that's probably what I'll end up going with. The next tier is like looking through what's on my console already downloaded and in some instances started. And do I want to pick up any of those? And like with that, it's essentially a vibes thing. It's like, what kind of genre of game and experience for play am I looking to get? Like what? And usually it's kind of like, what was the last game I played? Did I just play a Souls game? Okay, then I want like a shooter type, or maybe something, puzzly, but I probably don't want to stick with the Souls type. Like I kind of mix up what I'm doing with each game that I try to mainline, because again, for me, my needs of like what I'm looking for out of a game are often met before the end of the game. Like I'm okay with that. That's just how my play style works. And, once I've gotten what I want out of a game, I'm pretty happy with that. So I do kind of take that approach of what's new, what's on my console, and how does that differ or change versus what I've been spending my time on recently. And that's kind of my framework for evaluation. I mean, there are certain titles and games that, think about going back to and like want to play, like the Metal Gear Solid franchise, for instance. I really want to play those games, but I'm not doing it until they fucking remake them or fully remaster them in a way that, 100%, no doubt, but it is not a fun experience to me.
It was a little tough for me to get into Metal
Weakness.
Gear Solid 1, but I did it.
You did.
You can't throw that at me. I finished it. I beat the game.
I was impressed. So yeah, that's kind of my framework for selecting what I play.
So I'll start by saying I had a coworker whose methodology for this was pretty straightforward and simple, where he went to one of those digital wheel spinning websites and he would input 100 games off his backlog onto the digital wheel, and he would spin the wheel and he would play the game. And if 2, 3, 4 hours in he wasn't feeling it, he would drop it, spin the wheel again.
Respect. I don't hate that. I don't hate that.
That's
And just leave
actually
it purely to chance.
that's like, again, kind of deranged to me, but also, it's similar to, as much as it pains me, like I can never play this way. I can never just pick up and drop things. I am like fully captured by like the sunk cost fallacy, both in terms of money spent and time, that I can't pick up and finish and drop something. I have to finish it. It has to be so egregiously bad for me to stop or like just not vibe with it, like us, to such a degree. It's so rare. But in a lot of ways, and I kind of like am working through this in the written piece, is like that's not the healthiest way to play these things. This is a hobby that we should be getting, entertainment from and should be enjoying, right? And so Andrew just kind of being vibes based and being like, I've gotten what I wanted here. I'm satisfied. I don't need to see this through to the end. I don't need to, my brain's telling me to move on. And that's a free way to live. And that it's in a lot of ways, the healthier way to do it. But I just can't. I just can't.
My
I have a
methodology is pretty
sickness. But
simple.
yeah, Matt. Well, how do you do it?
So I basically look at the year as a chunk, and I go, okay, is there anything coming out that I'm going to want to play on day one? And the only thing realistically coming up that I want to play day one is Xenoblade Chronicles X. So that's
I knew that.
towards the end of March. So I then look at where I'm at right now, say I'm going to be done with Metaphor, let's just say tomorrow.
Imminent.
I go, okay, that leaves me about a month and a half, roughly, of time before I'd want to get into Xenoblade Chronicles X. Okay. A month and a half is a good amount of time, but it's not enough time for me to, say, invest myself into a fully long form game that I'm going to want to play through the first time, then do it, like a new game plus cycle or something like that to wrap up trophies. Because usually if I'm investing myself into something long form, I'm going to want to get everything out of the game that I can before I put it down so I can say that I've done it and I'm done. So I'll then look at that month and a half and say, okay, well, in a month and a half, I'm going to, because we have Sekiro coming up, I'll replay Sekiro to get a couple ending, the Shura ending, and, wrap up a couple trophies that I missed the last time that I played the game. That'll probably take me a week or two. And then from there, it'll probably end up being something like me taking Mario Wonder or maybe a different Mario platformer on the Switch. But usually what I end up doing is if I don't have a hard set point, like, oh, I got to stop playing a game because I want to be playing Xenoblade Chronicles X, or I want to be playing Elden Ring, or I want to be playing Rebirth, right when it comes out, I'll look at it and I'll sit in front of my shelf and I will just run my finger down the list on the spine of each game, and I'll be sitting there like, okay, well, Ghost of Yota is coming out, so maybe, Ghost of Tsushima, I'll pull that one out, like protrude it from the list, cat walked in front of camera, and I will go through and I will pull anything that's either got an upcoming sequel that I haven't played yet, or something that I've just wanted to play and haven't yet. And I will pull those forward. And then I will sit there and I'll do the math on the timing for it. Be like, okay, Cyberpunk's going to take me like 150 hours. Ghost of Tsushima maybe like 110.
It won't take you that long. You will be able to do a platinum playthrough.
I'm just giving basic numbers idea,
and you'll be able to do that in
how I
sub
look
100.
through it, and then I'll go through my Switch list and I'll do the same thing. And once I'm down to, it'll usually be about like 4 or 5 games, is when I'll just sit there and be like, okay, what do I want to play of these? And then it's usually pretty much just an impulse at that point, where I kind of just run down and be like, I want to play Fire Emblem Engage. And I pull that one out, throw it in, and go. And then the secondary part of that comes where if nothing is speaking to me enough on my shelf, that's when I reference my Steam.
Which is that's really getting into the weeds.
That one, it's not as bad because it's a extensive backlog, but a lot of the games on there are doubled up already. Like I have them on other platforms.
Yeah.
It's like one of the ones that I've pushed off eternally and will probably get to at some point this year is Doom 2016, and then Doom Eternal, and prep for something like Doom Dark Ages at some point.
When that inevitably comes to PlayStation.
I mean, it's coming to PlayStation day one. We know
is
that
it
already.
Okay? That's right. No, you're right. That is that was the one that's like, yeah, that's going well.
That was before any of the announcements were going on, because that was when it was rumored and leaked that all Bethesda games were going to go back to being day one launches, and then other studios got upset because they're like, well, why does Bethesda get to actually sell their game to people?
But yeah, that does seem to be a trend, I think, amongst us, in that how we evaluate it is slightly different, or the value we place in it. But it is mediating between new releases and the backlog. That's always the problem of approaching the backlog, right? Is that things are constantly getting further pushed down by what's
See, I'm
coming.
actually excited about this year because there's so few games that are coming out this year currently that have me like, I want to play that when it comes out. But I'm going to be able to smash through a couple games in my backlog that I've been putting off.
Yeah. So I do my best to try to balance that. Is that I like to, for every like new game I play, I like to play an older game, or again, to check something off the backlog. I try my best to balance myself that way. But like, I can't help but have the backlog be growing. There are in the long span of time, not necessarily a year, any given year, but there are too many new games that come out that I want to play, that I can play. So the backlog is always getting bigger, no matter how much I am chipping away at these things. Doing my strategy of keeping this kind of list has helped me significantly, but it's still an ongoing issue, and I still struggle. And even after this discussion today, which I want to thank you boys for coming on here, still doesn't help me with picking what am I playing next. This has all been an elaborate ruse for you two to tell me, what do I play next? Do I play Death
Sonic Adventure
Stranding?
DX on Steam.
Yeah. Do I play Death Stranding? Do I play Last of Us Part 2?
I would much rather hear your thoughts on Death Stranding.
I don't know how.
Because that's one of those games in my backlog that I look at like, maybe I'm gonna do it this time, and
that's one yet. As you know, one of Match Points that's got an upcoming sequel, so it's something that I kind of want to get to, and particularly for the Stranding game, that was such a community-oriented experience that I feel like it's been a reason why I don't want to really play it. Is like, how is that experience going to be tarnished by playing it so late? Versus, I want to be ready to play the second one when it comes out, to be a part of that.
I don't think it will diminish much. I think there's still a decent amount of people in that game. And if I'm remembering correctly, it's more like they leave you hints and like have built bridges for you than directly interacting with other players.
Right. No, I know that. But like, that's the thing, is like, there was going from having no,
that's fair. That's fair.
Alone to then just discover the things that people have left for you, versus those things already being there and just essentially being there from the start.
From the start. Yeah, that's fair. I get that.
That's the point I was trying to make. But yeah. So I don't know, folks. Maybe in the comments to this video when it goes up, you can tell me what I should play next.
Minecraft.
Yeah. Fortnite. Goodbye. Say goodbye, backlog.
Apex Legends.
Yeah. All right, boys. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. You can, listen to the pod on all podcast platforms. Check out the Patreon. All written stuff is open and free to the public. You can see kind of my thoughts. I focused it on 3 particular games and franchises that I'm either playing or interested in, and can kind of see what led to this discussion here.
Good piece. Read it.
You can follow us on all the socials at CamConPod, Campaign Comrades, everywhere. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.